Hello everybody, welcome to another lesson on biology and geology. Today let's review Unit 5, the Biosphere. This is the last layer of system of the Earth that we are learning during this course. The Biosphere, it can be defined as the layer of the Earth, the system of the Earth that contains all living things in the planet. It's the sum of all living things on the Earth. And this system, it can be found between the rest of the other systems in the planet. So as you can see in this image, I use this image to illustrate the biosphere, because here we can see different living things like the little deer and the plants. These are the living things in the image. Also, we can include some microorganisms that I guess they will be in this ecosystem. So where can we find the biosphere? Biosphere can be found between the geosphere. Here we can see these rocks that form the crust. Okay, so this crust is the outer part of the geosphere. Also, we can see a river, because all living things contain water and they need water. So the hydrosphere, some animals also live in the water. And these living things exchange gases with the atmosphere. And also there are some living things living surrounding the atmosphere. Birds, but also microorganisms, bacteria that live floating in the atmosphere. So as you can see, between all of these three systems, geosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere, is where we can find living things. Also, in the ground, there is some humidity, there is water, and also some gases, oxygen, in the soil, and that helps some living things to live inside the ground, like worms, for example. La biosfera la podemos encontrar entre los tres sistemas. En el suelo, por ejemplo, en la parte externa de la geosfera, tenemos minerales, que sería la geosfera. Tenemos entre los huecos de los minerales, de los granos de arena, ¿no?, y de arcilla que forman el suelo, tenemos agua, porque retiene parte de humedad, y tiene también oxígeno, o por lo menos gases. Y eso permite que haya seres vivos que vivan en el subsuelo, como las lombrices de tierra y las plantas que toman el agua con las sales minerales del suelo, precisamente. So now we know what is the biosphere, and let's see what is a living thing, okay? Because if the biosphere is the layer with all living things, let's see what is a living thing. All living things have three characteristics in common. If I ask you what's the difference between a living thing and a non-living matter, for you it's very easy. If I ask you, is a pencil a living thing? You will say, no, it's not a living thing. Okay? But sometimes it's not so easy. So let's use these characteristics to try to define what is a living thing. All living things have similar chemical composition, and that is different from other non-living things. Their chemical composition is mainly it's based on organic substances. In the other side, the non-living things are mainly formed with inorganic substances. The next characteristic is that they carry out three main life functions. This is probably the most important one. Only living things can carry out these three life functions, which are nutrition, interaction or sensitivity, and reproduction. Also, all living things are made up of cells. This is also an important characteristic. They can be made up by one cell, and then we call them unicellular, or more cells, and they are called multicellular. So the cell is the basic unit of life. Something smaller and simpler than a cell cannot be considered a living thing. Okay, so it's the basic unit. Now we are going to take a quick look to these three life functions, that they are very important, and let's see what are they and some definitions. So nutrition is the first one. If we think in nutrition, sometimes the first thing that comes to our mind is food, okay? But that not it's exactly the same. Feeding and nutrition is not the same. We can consider nutrition as a combination of processes by which living beings exchange matter and energy with the environment. Okay, this is like the definition of nutrition that you should learn. An exchange of matter and energy with their environment. So why living things do need to exchange this energy and matter with the environment? Okay, because you have to think that a living thing is like a car, and a car to work properly needs two things. It needs energy, like petrol, right? Energy to move. So living things need also energy, and that energy comes from nutrients that living things need to take from the environment, ¿no? Para producir energía, los seres vivos necesitan nutrientes que tienen que tomar del medio ambiente. And also they need some parts to replace the old or broken ones. Necesitamos materia para reparar, cambiar aquellas partes del cuerpo que se van deteriorando por el paso del tiempo, o para crecer. And so we need this matter, and we need to take this matter from the environment. So these are this is why nutrition is important for all living things. So remember, oxygen is also part of nutrition. When we breathe oxygen, we take oxygen from the environment, we need that gas to produce energy. So remember that breathing is included into nutrition. There are mainly two types of nutrition: autotrophic and heterotrophic. Autotrophic are living things that make their own organic matter, and they create this organic matter from inorganic matter using a source of energy. Okay, this is the definition. Let's explain it a little bit more in detail. Imagine that plants, or you know that plants are autotrophic organisms, and they Their nutrition is based on a process called photosynthesis. Okay, this is our plant. So plants are autotrophic because they take inorganic substances, inorganic matter, which is water and salt. They take this inorganic matter and they have to transform inorganic matter to organic matter, which are basically sugar and other organic substances like lipids, carbohydrates, and proteins. So they need to transform inorganic matter into organic matter, and to do that they need a source of energy, and plants use sunlight to produce this transformation. Okay, we usually say that they make their own food, okay, but that's not very precise, and we need to learn that they produce organic matter from inorganic matter thanks to a source of energy, which is sunlight. Okay, these are the autotrophic organisms. The heterotrophic organisms cannot produce organic matter from inorganic matter, so they need to take straight the organic matter from the environment. So heterotrophic organisms needs to eat other organisms, they need to take organic matter from plants, from organic matter in the soil, for example. They need to take it because they cannot produce it. Necesitan tomar, los organismos heterótrofos necesitan tomar esta materia orgánica ya fabricada, ya hecha, del medio directamente, porque ellos no pueden transformar la materia inorgánica en materia orgánica. Y lo tienen que tomar de las plantas, de pequeños pues sustancias orgánicas que haya por el suelo, por el agua. Ellos no pueden producirla. Okay, this is a table that is quite interesting. You can copy it in your notebook. So it basically said the same. Autotrophs take as nutrients inorganic substances, and they transform these inorganic substances into organic substances through a source of energy. If they use sunlight as a source of energy, then they are called photosynthetic. And if they use a different source of energy, usually chemical reactions, then they are called, the process is called chemosynthesis. The other group, the heterotrophs, the nutrients are organic substances. They cannot produce organic matter from inorganic matter, so they need to take it from the environment. Some bacteria, some prototists, fungi, or animals are heterotrophic. Okay, the next life function, interaction or sensitivity. Interaction, it can be defined as the ability to react to the ability to react to and respond to changes in the environment, that they are called stimulus. So this stimulus can be changes in the physical conditions on the environment, physical or chemical changes, and also changes inside their bodies. The one example that I always use is the shark needs to react to changes in the environment. For example, if the shark cannot detect a movement of a fish, ¿no? Si no puede detectar los peces, then the shark cannot react to these changes. The presence, in this case, the stimulus is the presence of a fish, and it cannot hunt their prey. No puede cazar a las presas si no puede detectarlas. Así que estos cambios, estas reacciones a los cambios es gracias a la función de interacción, o sea, la función de relación. en español. The changes in the environment can be internal conditions, para regular, detectan cambios en su cuerpo para poder regularlos y mantener el equilibrio, y condiciones externas como pues cambios tanto de pues la presencia de animales, o si la temperatura del agua aumenta o desciende, cambios químicos y físicos del medio. The reproduction is the biological process by which new individual organisms are produced. This is the third vital function, and it's very important because without this function, the species, all species in the planet, will disappear with the next generation, within one generation. Sin esta propiedad, las especies desaparecerían. Si no pueden reproducirse, cuando se muriesen no darían descendencia y todas las especies irían desapareciendo según hubiesen aparecido en el planeta. There are two types of reproduction: asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. What is the difference? Asexual reproduction requires only one parent, which produce new genetically identical living things. La reproducción asexual solo tiene un progenitor de un organismo. We get two new individuals that they are identical to the first one. Son los nuevos individuos de un individuo. Surgen dos que son copias idénticas entre ellos e iguales al primero. The sexual reproduction requires two organisms. One is produced. One is the male, the other is the female, and they produce different sexual cells called gametes. And when these gametes join together, okay, like the ovule, the sperm and the ovule, they join together and produce a new cell, a new organism, which have some genetic information from both parents. La reproducción sexual necesita dos progenitores, cada uno, un macho y una hembra, que producen unas células sexuales llamadas gametos. Cuando estos gametos se unen, dan lugar a un nuevo individuo que tiene pues parte de la información del padre y parte de información de la madre. Right, so let's move on. In page number 70, you can find the chemistry of life, the main chemical components of the living things. So, living things are made by chemical elements that we can find in planet Earth. In the geosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, we can find them everywhere. The thing is that the amount, the ratio of these, or the proportion of these elements, are different in living things than in the Earth's crust, for example. So, in living things, the main or the most important elements here you can see are oxygen and carbon. These are the base of living things and all organic substances. So we have carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. These are the most important ones. Okay, you remember these letters? CHON. These are the most abundant elements in living things. And all living things needs these elements. Then after that we have another that they are very important also, like calcium, phosphorus or sulfur. These are very important elements. Also, the living things need other different elements. We can think, for example, we need iron, we need magnesium, we need, what else? Chlorine, sodium. There are a lot of elements, zinc, a lot of elements that we need them, but we need them in very little amount. And these elements, these essential elements, can change from one species to another. But these ones are the most important ones, especially these four ones, and all living things need them, are made by these chemical elements, right? Good. However, for example, in the crust, the silicon and the oxygen are the most important elements, okay? They are different from the living things. So they are called bioelements. Bioelement is any chemical element that forms part of organic matter. But chemical elements like this, they don't stay alone. They join together to create molecules. And these molecules that we can find in all living things can be divided in two groups. We have inorganic biomolecules and organic biomolecules. In your book, you can read, instead of biomolecules, substances. In organic substances, we have two important ones: water and mineral salts. Water, as we know, it's the most abundant substance in living things, and is necessary for chemical reactions and for transportation of nutrients in our bodies. And mineral salts are also very important. For example, we need mineral salts to create our bones or shells, teeth, and so on. Okay, so they are very important. The other group are organic biomolecules. These organic biomolecules are mainly formed with two elements, carbon and oxygen. However, water and mineral salts usually they don't have, water is H2O, this is a salt, they don't have carbon, okay? So that's the main difference. Whoops. Okay, carbon, the organic biomolecules. And carbon and oxygen create, this is a carbon atom, and it can be bind with four oxygen atoms. And this structure, like a pyramid, it can be it can form chains and 3D structures like this, or very complex structures. And we can distinguish four different organic biomolecules that they are present in all living things, and we cannot find these organic biomolecules in non-living things. Nosotros podemos encontrar agua y sales minerales en la materia inerte, pero en los seres vivos, pero estas biomoléculas orgánicas solamente se pueden encontrar en los seres vivos. And they are carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. Carbohydrates, for example, sugar, they provide energy. Es como la gasolina para los seres vivos. Los hidratos de carbono o los glúcidos producen o nos dan energía. Lipids, they are very important to create all hormones and other things, skin, membrane of cell membranes, but they are energy reservoirs, so son reservas energéticas. Proteins, also very important. Proteins like keratin, hemoglobin, they build structures like muscles, and also help with the immune system. And the last one, nucleic acids, they are like DNA, which is very famous, el ADN. This is a type of nucleic acid, and the function is to keep and transfer the genetic information. La información genética, la información hereditaria, se almacena en estas moléculas. Good. So let's see what is the cell. We have seen that the cell is the most basic unit of all living things, and all living things are made up by cells. But what is a cell? The cell is the smallest structural unit of life that can function independently. So a cell can carry out the three life functions. The cell was discovered by Robert Hooke during the 17th century. And as you know, Robert Hooke was studying some slices of cork with this microscope. And he realized that las láminas de corcho que miraba al microscopio estaban formadas, they were formed by these tiny holes, like a net, like a... formaban esta red de celdillas, como un panal de abeja. He called them cells, okay? However, he doesn't knew exactly what were these little cells that you can find in the in cork. Él no sabía exactamente qué eran esas celdas que se encontraban en el corcho. So during the following years, other scientists started to to search for these cells in other living things. Otros investigadores empezaron a buscar en otros seres vivos, a mirarlos al microscopio para ver si también tenían estas celdas. And they conclude that yes, all living things are made of cells. Okay, they have this internal structure. In plants, animals, and all living things. Also, they consider, this is called the cell theory. The cells are the basic unit of structure and function of living things. These scientists, Schleiden and Schwann, they discovered these points, and also that every cell comes from a previous cell. This is another part of the cell theory. Todas las células provienen de una célula anterior. And these 3 points are what we call the cell theory. Every cell have 3 parts in common. In nature, we can find a large diversity of cells with different structures and functions, but all of them share 3 main characteristics of or structures. First of all, the cell membrane. All cells need a cell membrane, a limit, a boundary between the inner part of the cell and the environment. Todas las células, como es una unidad, necesitan estar separadas de otras células y del medio, y para eso necesitan una frontera, un medio, un límite que es la membrana. And this membrane allows the exchange of substances through the membrane, okay, with between the inner part of the cell with the environment. The second part is the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is the inner environment of the cell, and some organelles and structures can be nutrients and so on can be inside this cytoplasm. And then the last part is the genetic material. Every cell has some sort of genetic material, a nucleic acid like DNA, that contains information for the function of the cell and also the genetic information that can be transferred to the next generation. Okay, these are the three basic parts of the cell, but depending of other structures, we can separate or distinguish two types of cells. They are prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells are the simplest and the smallest ones, and they don't have a nucleus. So they usually have a membrane, a cytoplasm, and the genetic material is floating inside the cytoplasm. Okay, so this is very it's a very simple and primitive type of cell. And the updated version of the prokaryotic cell is the eukaryotic cell. And the eukaryotic cell has a membrane, a cytoplasm, but also it has another membrane which is called the nucleus. And inside the nucleic membrane, we have the DNA protected with this membrane, right? Nuclear membrane. Apart from this difference, that is the most important one, eukaryotic cell is more complex than prokaryotic cell because it has a lot of organelles, different organelles with functions that we will see in the next lesson. So this is all for now. We will continue with Unit 5 in the next lesson. You can ask me as always by email or Moodle if you have any questions. See you in the next video. Bye.